Most gardeners dream of soil so alive and fertile that plants practically leap out of the ground. But here's the problem. Turning compost, the age-old advice for building rich soil, is sweaty, smelly, and honestly exhausting. What if I told you there's a single kitchen scrap that brings in worms faster than a steaming compost pile, and that by leaving it undisturbed, you could create something even more valuable than fertilizer? This little-known method doesn't just feed your garden for a season, it builds soil health that lasts for years. Traditional composting advice revolves around speed. You turn the pile, introduce oxygen, and crank up the heat so bacteria break scraps down in record time. In a matter of weeks, your pile transforms into a rich-looking material gardeners often call black gold. But here's the hidden truth. That quick turnaround doesn't always give your soil what it truly craves. Hot composting produces nutrients fast, but it often skips the step of forming humus, the dark, carbon-rich, sponge-like substance that makes soil thrive for the long haul. Humus holds water like a reservoir, feeds soil organisms steadily, and anchors carbon in the ground where it belongs. And here's the kicker. The process that makes humus isn't fueled by pitchforks or heat, it's powered by worms and fungi. If you want worms faster than compost, you don't need fancy soil amendments. The answer is surprisingly simple. Moist, unturned kitchen scraps layered with carbon-rich browns like shredded leaves or cardboard. Worms are drawn to scraps like vegetable peelings, apple cores and wilted greens, but it isn't the scraps alone that keep them coming. It's the environment those scraps create when left undisturbed. When you toss kitchen scraps into a pile and resist the urge to stir, something special happens. Instead of blasting through decomposition with heat, the pile cools and slowly softens. The lower layers become damp, steady and welcoming. Within weeks, earthworms and red wigglers find their way in, tunneling through scraps and creating a natural composting engine from the bottom up. Worms do more than eat your scraps. Their tunnels act like tiny irrigation channels, carrying moisture and oxygen deep into the pile. Each time they pass organic matter through their system, it emerges as worm castings, a supercharged microbial fertilizer that honestly boosts plant growth like nothing else. When left alone, worms organize your compost far better than turning ever could. Even more impressive is how worms work hand in hand with fungi. In hot compost piles, fungi often get destroyed by high temperatures. But in a quiet, cool pile, fungal threads weave through layers of cardboard and straw, binding particles together and building the foundation of humus. This mix of worm tunnels, fungal networks and slow breakdown creates soil that isn't just rich for the moment, it's resilient for years. Creating this worm-haven compost pile couldn't be easier, but it does require the right balance. Start with a 4 by 4 foot area, which is large enough to hold moisture but not so large that it becomes unmanageable. Begin layering greens and browns in equal parts. Greens include fresh kitchen scraps like banana peels, cucumber ends and apple cores. Browns can be shredded cardboard, dry leaves or old straw. Once the pile is built, water it generously so that it feels like a wrung-out sponge. For a standard 4 by 4 pile, about 8 to 10 gallons of water at the start is usually enough. Cover the top with a thick layer of straw, leaves or cardboard to lock in moisture and prevent the pile from drying out. Then comes the most important step. Leave it alone. No turning, no fluffing, no poking around, just time. At first glance, your pile may not look like much. In the first few weeks, the top will still show scraps, a bit of smell, and maybe some fuzzy mould. Don't be alarmed. This is all part of the natural cycle. The real magic happens beneath the surface. After about a month, Dig a little deeper and you'll find worms beginning to colonize the bottom layers. By the 6-week mark, the lower third of the pile becomes a wriggling community of worms, breaking down material steadily. Their tunnels ensure that oxygen moves through the pile without you lifting a finger. By 90 days, you'll notice the transformation is complete. The bottom layers no longer look like kitchen scraps at all. Instead, they've turned into rich, dark, crumbly humus that smells like a walk in the forest after rain. This humus is garden-ready, holding water beautifully and offering nutrients without the risk of burning delicate roots. What makes this method so powerful isn't just the end product, it's how simple it is. When you don't disturb your pile, you give worms and fungi the stable environment they need to thrive. Instead of forcing air in with a pitchfork, you let nature take over. The system becomes self-sustaining, producing humus that's more balanced, more biologically active, and far longer lasting than hot compost ever could. The payoff in the garden is undeniable. Plants establish faster, fruiting crops like tomatoes and peppers show stronger growth, and water retention improves noticeably. You're not just feeding your plants for a season, you're improving the very foundation of your soil. Like any method, lazy composting has a few quirks. The process is slower, so if you're after quick compost in, say, 4 weeks, this isn't your path. Planning ahead is key. Start your pile early enough so it's ready by planting season. Balance is also important. Too many greens without enough browns can create a smelly, soggy mess. Too many browns and the pile may dry out. Aim for an even mix, keep the moisture steady, and, well, nature will take care of the rest. At Timeless Crops Haven, we believe gardening should work with nature, not against it. By letting your scraps sit quietly, you're creating conditions that mimic the forest floor. Conditions where worms, fungi and microbes transform waste into wealth. More importantly, you're building humus, the true foundation of fertile soil. If you've got a shady corner of your garden, a handful of kitchen scraps and a little patience, give this method a try. Set up a no-turn pile today and let time, worms and fungi do what they do best. When you return months later, you'll find a living, breathing soil builder that no store-bought fertilizer can compete with. Your soil deserves this kind of care, and your plants will reward you with growth you can see and taste. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe to Timeless Crops Haven and share it with a fellow gardener who could use a break from the pitchfork. Let's grow smarter together.